This is the story of how Israel faced its greatest threat, an existential crisis with Iran on the verge of attack. Iran, a powerful enemy, believed it could wipe Israel off the map. For years, the world watched as tensions grew, fearing a war unlike any other. This was not just a conflict over land but a fight for survival. Israel had to make a choice that could either save it or lead to its end. The world held its breath on June 30, 2025 as events unfolded that nearly changed everything. The Middle East stood on the edge of a massive war, possibly involving nuclear weapons. Israel's leaders saw a closing window of opportunity and believed waiting would be fatal. The decision they made would have consequences for the entire world. This is a story of spies, soldiers, and a preemptive strike, risky, but for Israel, absolutely necessary. What actions are justified when a nation's existence is at stake? Israel's leaders weighed the evidence and made one of the most difficult choices in their history. The stakes could not have been higher. We'll explore Iran's plan, Israel's response, and the attack itself. This is not just military history, it's a look at a moment when the future of a region hung in the balance. It's a reminder of how quickly peace can turn to war, and how a nation, pushed to the wall, will fight to survive. In Tehran, a digital clock counted down not to a holiday, but to what Iran called the destruction of Israel. This was more than propaganda. It was a symbol of Iran's leadership's belief that Israel could be destroyed. After the attacks of October 7, 2023, Iran saw Israel as weakened and seized the moment. Iran's plan had two parts: its nuclear program and its missile arsenal. While Iran claimed its nuclear program was peaceful, intelligence agencies worldwide saw a secret push for a bomb. After October 7, Iran accelerated its efforts, producing more enriched uranium and blocking inspectors. Israel watched with growing alarm as Iran neared the nuclear threshold. The second part, Iran's missile program. Thousands of missiles, some capable of reaching any Israeli city, were being built and made more accurate. Iran armed its regional allies Hezbollah, the Houthis, and militias in Syria and Iraq, creating a ring of threats around Israel. Hezbollah alone had over 150,000 rockets in the north. Gaza and other fronts were rearming. Iran believed Israel could not survive a war on so many fronts. The countdown clock was a deadline for a plan Iran believed was now possible. Israel faced a perfect storm, a nuclear-armed enemy, surrounded by hostile proxies, ready to strike. The world watched as the clock ticked down, fearing the worst. Israel knew it had to act before the window closed. The threat was real, and time was running out. The stakes: survival or destruction. Iran's confidence grew, but so did Israel's resolve. The countdown was more than a symbol, it was a warning. The region braced for what could be a catastrophic conflict. Israel's leaders prepared for the unthinkable. The world waited, holding its breath. The clock was ticking. Inside Mossad headquarters, the mood was grim. Maps showed a nation surrounded, and intelligence painted a terrifying picture. Israel's spies risked their lives inside Iran, sending back evidence that Iran was not bluffing. The nuclear and missile programs were advancing faster than anyone expected. The window to act was closing. Israel's military leaders agreed, defending against Iran's plan would be nearly impossible. A massive missile attack from all sides would overwhelm Israel's defenses. Even the Iron Dome couldn't stop thousands of rockets. A nuclear Iran would change everything, making every future conflict potentially catastrophic. The generals knew they could not allow this to happen. The decision? A preemptive strike, one of the most serious choices a nation can make. Israel's prime minister and war cabinet met in secret, debating for days. Some hoped diplomacy or sanctions would work. Others argued time had run out. Intelligence and war plans were presented. The only way to guarantee survival was to strike first. The decision was made. Israel would gamble everything on a first strike. If it failed, it could trigger the very war it was meant to prevent. If it succeeded, it could set back Iran's plans by years. Israel had a history of bold action, destroying Iraq's reactor in 1981, Syria's in 2007. But this time the stakes were higher than ever. The operation was codenamed First Light. The nation prepared in secret for the fight of its life. Every detail was scrutinized, every risk weighed. The fate of Israel hung in the balance. The world had no idea what was coming. The gamble was set. Israel would strike first, hoping to change the course of history. The countdown to Operation First Light had begun. There was no turning back. Operation First Light was a plan of incredible complexity. Its goals: destroy Iran's nuclear program, neutralize its missile threat, and achieve total surprise. Key nuclear sites at Natanz and Fordow were heavily protected, some buried deep underground. Special weapons and perfect timing were required to cripple Iran's bomb-making ability for a decade. Israel's intelligence had mapped missile factories, storage sites, and command centers. The plan: destroy missiles before they could be launched at Israel. Achieving surprise was crucial. Iran's air defenses and radar systems were formidable. Israeli jets would fly complex routes using electronic warfare to jam enemy radar and communications. The attack would come in the early morning darkness. F-35 Adir stealth fighters would lead, supported by F-15S, F-16S, refueling planes, drones, and satellites. Every move was coordinated for maximum impact. Pilots trained for months, knowing the future of their country rested on their shoulders. The operation was a symphony of military power and precision. The plan was set. The moment of truth approached. Israel's fate would be decided in the skies over Iran. The world would soon witness a strike unlike any before. The mission was ready. The order was given. The night of the attack, Israeli jets took off in silence, flying low and undetected. The first blow was digital. A massive cyber attack crippled Iran's electrical grid and communications. Radar screens went dark. Military commanders were cut off. In the chaos, Israeli F-35S crossed into Iranian airspace undetected. The first bomb struck Natanz, destroying underground bunkers with precision. Minutes later, Fordow was hit, buried deep inside a mountain. Simultaneously, other jets targeted missile factories and silos, lighting up the night sky. Iran's leadership, blinded by the blackout, struggled to understand the scale of the attack. Israeli jets hit their targets and turned for home, spending less than an hour in Iranian airspace. Some anti-aircraft fire erupted, but it was too late and uncoordinated. The element of surprise had worked perfectly. Reports to Tel Aviv confirmed main targets were hit. Operation First Light achieved its initial goals. Israel waited for Iran's response. The world awoke to a new reality. The most dangerous hour had passed. Israel's gamble had paid off, at least for now. The region braced for what would come next. As dawn broke, Iran's leaders saw the devastation. Key sites in ruins, command systems in chaos. Their instinct was to strike back, but the systems were down, commanders unreachable, and many missiles destroyed. Iran managed to launch a handful of missiles from surviving bases, but it was a fraction of their planned response. Israel's air defenses intercepted most. A few got through, causing limited damage. The massive counterattack Israel feared never materialized. Iran tried to activate its allies, Hezbollah, the Houthis, and others, but Israel had warned them: attack, and face devastating retaliation. Hezbollah hesitated, launching only a few rockets, unwilling to escalate without Iran's support. Iran's failure to respond was a blow to its prestige. Years of threats and military buildup had ended in confusion and defeat. The combination of cyber attack, precision bombing, and missile destruction left Iran unable to fight back as planned. The world watched as the feared Iranian war machine sputtered. For Israel, it was a moment of profound relief. The first and most dangerous phase of the crisis was over. The region held its breath, uncertain what would come next. Israel had survived the opening salvo. The balance of power had shifted, at least for now. The world took notice. In the days after the strike, spy satellites revealed the extent of the destruction. Natanz was a cratered wreck. Fordow's entrances were scorched. Experts concluded Iran's nuclear program was set back by at least a decade. Over 70% of Iran's long-range missiles were destroyed. Command centers flattened. Iran still had some missiles and allies, but its ability to launch a massive strike was shattered. The world's reaction was mixed. Some allies quietly relieved, others condemning Israel's actions. The United States and Europe called for calm, not wanting a wider war. Russia and China condemned the attack. Arab governments were divided. For Iran, the attack was a national humiliation. The government tried to downplay the damage, but the truth was clear to its people. The regime's image of strength was badly damaged. Israel's strike had changed the strategic landscape. The threat of a nuclear Iran was gone, for now. The region was tense, but a wider war had been averted. The world watched, uncertain what would come next. Israel had bought time, but at a cost. The aftermath was just beginning. The operation was a success, but Israel paid a price. A few Iranian missiles got through, causing casualties and damage in Beersheba and elsewhere. The economic cost was high. Schools closed, businesses shut, billions spent on defense. Israel faced diplomatic challenges and criticism at the UN. The victory was real, but not free. To prevent a wider war, Israel launched a diplomatic campaign making clear the strike was a defensive measure. Israel offered Iran an off-ramp, no further attacks if Iran and its allies did not escalate. The main gain for Israel was time. The nuclear threat was pushed far into the future and the missile threat greatly reduced. Israel's deterrence was re-established. Its enemies saw it would act decisively to defend itself. The price was high, but inaction would have been far costlier. The region remained tense, but a wider conflict was avoided. Israel's leaders knew the struggle was not over. The operation had changed the balance, but not ended the threat. The world watched, hoping the crisis would not reignite. Israel began to rebuild and recover. The lesson's survival comes at a cost. The future remained uncertain. The skies over Israel are quiet now, but the danger has only been pushed back. Operation First Light was a military success, but the victory is temporary. The fundamental conflict with Iran remains. Iran is wounded, not defeated. It will rebuild, more secretive and determined. The desire to destroy Israel has not vanished. If anything, it's stronger. Iran will use its proxies and continue the shadow war of cyber attacks and sabotage. For Israel, vigilance is now a way of life. Intelligence agencies must work harder. The military must stay ahead. National unity and resilience are essential. The success of First Light was built on years of preparation and technological edge. Maintaining that edge is a constant struggle. The peace that exists is fragile, bought at a high price. The countdown clock in Tehran may be gone, but a new one has started in the minds of Israel's enemies. The struggle for survival is not over. The world has witnessed how close we came to catastrophe. The lesson peace is never guaranteed. Israel remains vigilant, knowing the next crisis could be just a heartbeat away. The story continues.